Great. Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for our Savannah Jewish Family Services Food for Thought program. Please note, if you have any questions during the program, please write them in the chat. We'll have Q&As at the end. Today, I'm honored to introduce Nathan Hoffman, Chief Executive Officer of Galilee Culinary Institute. Nathan founded several startups, including a firm focused on personal growth, which he sold successfully. Before that, he was a strategic finance leader at several companies, overseeing operations all over the world. Nathan has over 18 years of experience leading business operations for both startups and established organizations. Thank you so much, Nathan, for joining us, and thank you, Jewish National Fund, for your support.
Thank you. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining tonight. I'm here to explain what is going on in the Galilee, in the north of Israel. So buckle up. It's going to be an amazing ride. So first of all, if you build it, they will come. And for those that don't know, JNF is obviously pioneering the north and the south of Israel, something not many have ventured to do because there are a lot less people in the north and the south, a lot less opportunities, a lot less businesses, infrastructure. So the fact that JNF has taken this mission on of building the north and the south, obviously, is a huge undertaking, and we already see so much that is happening in the fruits of the labor so far. So first of all, I want to thank you all that are watching. Obviously, it doesn't happen without JNF and our viewers and everyone else. So thank you all. It's obviously to see everyone come together around food, which is not so hard to do when it comes to Jewish families. We are all food people, and so it's an easy sell for people to get excited about the Culinary Institute. So just a little background about me, and I started my JNF actual journey in Arizona, where I helped start the JNF Futures Group. As you see, my beard was a lot shorter. My mom was much happier, and the rest is history. So things have grown a little bit. But so I helped start the JNF Future Group in Arizona. My wife and I made Aliyah in 2017. I was born and raised in Maryland, East Coast, and then went to Arizona. And after she convinced me to make Aliyah, it was her idea. So I said, if you're going to decide we're making Aliyah, obviously we decided as a family, but it was her big idea. And so after she made that idea, I said, well, if we're moving to Israel, I get to pick the location. And she said, sure. And lo and behold, we are in the north of Israel. We're in Tzfat, and the Galilee Culinary Institute will be in the greater Kiryat Shmona region in the north of Israel. And as we always said, we wanted to have an impact in the north. So I didn't know what that meant in the beginning. My wife and I, when we moved here, I had work in America. I was doing work from here, doing some consulting jobs and some other startup stuff. And I saw Russell Robinson, the CEO of JNF, at a food tech event, and we started talking about the Culinary Institute, and really the rest is history. So that's just a little bit about me. And just to think about what's going on in Israel today, the pioneers of yesterday were digging with shovels. Today, the pioneers are transforming the world. It's not just what's happening in Israel, even though obviously that's a huge accomplishment itself, but it's the world. I mean, the world at large looks to Israel for technology and for infrastructure changes and things that are happening that is obviously on the innovative side. And so we have an opportunity with the Culinary Institute as well. This is actually a picture of the medical facility that JNF is also putting in, because it's very hard, obviously, to get talent to the north without having medical attention for your children and your family. So this is just a picture of a group there. But the point being that really the north, we have an opportunity to really build the north in Israel, but also in the world, on a world stage. And that's one thing that the GCI is really looking forward to doing, being that we are an international culinary institute. And I'll tell you about that shortly. So look, the foundation has to have two big pieces. One is a major supporter and a group that is well connected here in Israel, and that is obviously JNF, with affiliates all throughout Israel, and the connections. They've been here for a long time, since 1901, I think, is the start of JNF. But JNF Israel JNF USA is obviously the our supporter and our team and everyone we work with here. So without a group of people like JNF and a team and affiliates, this cannot happen. And this is a very big undertaking, like I said, in the North. Without that kind of support, without the businesses that are here, without the infrastructure on, education, it's very hard to do something like this. So this can never happen without a JNF. And then also you need, enthusiastic partners in the area, in the region. And obviously Kiryat Shmona is the major city in the region. They're very excited about this. They're doing amazing things as well, which I'll talk to you about shortly. But you need, very important cities to play a role in any undertaking when it comes to economic development. And you need obviously significant, partners, and basically we're JNF in general. So it's just it doesn't happen without it. So you have to have a strong foundation, and thankfully we have a great foundation. And look, everyone always says, well, why a culinary institute? But the point is, you need to utilize the assets of the region, and the region is full of food and producers and makers, and there's so much happening, and I'll tell you a little bit about more shortly. But you need to leverage the assets of the region with new investments coming in. Obviously, food is a major connector, and bringing people to the north is obviously a huge goal of JNF's, not only to visit and tour, but to live in the north. So, it's crucial to utilize what's going on in the region and taking advantage of all that's there, and that is what we're doing with the Culinary Institute, which you'll learn about shortly. So just a few things about just the GCI. You can read about our dream, reinventing global culinary education experiences. You can read about that stuff, but I'll just talk about our 5 strategic objectives. The first is reinventing culinary education, which I'll tell you about shortly. The second is building bridges through food, different ethnicities, different types of people. We want everyone to come together around the table through food. It's a very big, important aspect of what we're doing. We are not political. We don't play in the political realm. We are all about bringing people together, and that is what's most important. We want to build a profitable, self-sustaining destination business. So, while it's great that we're funded by JNF, we don't want JNF to have to fund this for the rest of eternity. So the point is to be able to sustain ourselves, to actually create a business that works without additional funds. Obviously, there'll be some funds, I'm sure, with scholarships and other areas that are really obviously crucial to our growth. But in general, the goal is to be self-sustaining entity. Obviously, with that comes building economic development and tourism. It's very important to have people come to the north, to really build the north. If you don't know, Jerusalem and Tel Aviv are quite packed cities, and rent is crazy expensive. And so building a family in one of the cities is not very easy. Starting a family there. So we're planning to entice everyone with the beautiful landscape, the lush greenery, and all that has to offer, which you will learn about shortly. And the last is driving food responsibility. Obviously, we want to reduce our plastic usage. We want to compost. We really want to do our part for the world as well. It's very easy to get lost in just waste when it comes to food, especially in culinary institutes. You go through food, you do lots of preps, you do all kinds of tests, but the goal is to obviously utilize the food in one form or shape. And obviously, that's very important to us to be responsible when it comes to creating our business. So I'll get into the fun parts, and then actually the best part is obviously questions. So hopefully we'll have some questions. So if you have them, please write them in, because that's where all the fun happens. But I'm just going to go through kind of our top 10 so you get an idea of what we're doing. It's very hard to get through everything in the amount of time we have, but I will do my best. So like I said, right place at the right time. So what is happening in the north of Israel is quite amazing. And again, we couldn't have planned it any better. And JNF obviously was already on the forefront of what's happening. So, there's, first of all, there's 2 to 5 food tech / incubators, accelerators in the north that have now been invested in. You have our crowd that has gotten involved with one, Finster, Tanuba. There's another, obviously, with JNF and JVP partners. They're doing a food tech center as well. You have ag tech also in the region, working on sustainable farming. It's really amazing what is happening. The government is also, well, who knows about the government, because the government's always up in the air. But right now we have a government, and they're investing heavily in the north as well. There's going to be a train station that goes all the way up to Kiryat Shmona, so they would stop there eventually. They've invested in the infrastructure, providing industrial companies space, tax incentives on employees. So a lot is really happening in the north. Also, where we're located has these they're nice rooms, they're decent rooms, but actually a hotel group is taking them over, which is even better for us. They're renewing them, so also a huge opportunity in the region to have longer program. We were already expecting to do program, which I'll tell you about, programming on the tourism side and having people stay long term. Now it's going to be even easier, which is amazing. Like, just all that's happening is really the right place at the right time. Everything that's happening in the innovation side, everything in the world for those that follow like food tech and alternative proteins. I mean, we're in Israel, one of the top countries in alternative proteins, cultured meat, vegetarian options. It's pretty amazing what is happening here. So being really at the state of the art and allowing our students to learn about that, which I'll tell you about shortly. So the key ingredients to success, while it's innovation, we're really trying to transform the culinary world. Like I said just a little ago about transforming culinary education, we don't even believe culinary education will change. We believe all education will change. Obviously, education is a very, very old model. It's time to change the old school mentality, no pun intended. And so we're really looking to be at the forefront of that. And first, when it comes to our student type, when it comes to the Culinary Institute, we're looking for culinary leaders. That doesn't mean you have to have a lot of experience. It means someone who's going to take their career by the horns and make it happen. Usually, we've done some research in culinary institutes. Usually, it's the top 10 to 20% of most of the students at culinary institutes are the really motivated. They're going to all the classes, they're doing all the work, and at the end, they're going to be successful. So these are the types of people we're focused on. Now, a unique aspect of what we're doing is we have these three lenses that we call that we will utilize throughout the whole program. And I'll tell you about the program shortly as well, and what we're working and how we're creating it. But these three things are going to probably go through everything that we do in all of our programming. And these lenses are first storytelling. So that is being able to tell your story, social media, different types of media, creating media, online media, photography, videography, all the things that are necessary today. We are giving our students that opportunity to do this on-site. We'll be creating content, constantly. I always say, and everyone laughs, 24/6, because of Shabbat and all that. But the point is, it's really something today. If you can't get your story out, if you can't tell your story, if you can't build awareness, if you're not on social media, you're done before you start. And so it's a huge area that we'll be working on. All classrooms will be able to create and capture content. We'll have a demonstration kitchen. Everything really is about creating the story and telling the story. All the different ethnicities in the region, which I'll talk about shortly. But storytelling is huge and important, and is a way to obviously build an audience. No matter where you go in culinary, it's something very important to get into. The next is activism, and that's just getting involved in the community. It's so important for us, being here to be a part of the community, and hence the reason, I don't know, for those that read the newsletter, that's what I talked about in June's newsletter. Basically, Israel's back to open. We're meeting people in person again. There's no more masks, thank God. And so we're able to now, it's back to the old school way of doing things, because the North is an old school way type of place where the connections are built by people. And I had a great person who I was speaking to, I consider a mentor here in Israel, and he told me, look, if the locals find out about you from the TV before they heard about it from a friend or in person, you're in big trouble, because then they don't believe you. They don't believe it's going to work, because a lot of companies and a lot of businesses have tried to start something in the North, and it's failed because they didn't have the support of the community. Like, for example, Starbucks is not in Israel because they didn't really ask the Israeli what they wanted. They came in, thought they were going to do what they wanted, and the community said, go away. And it's one of the few countries that it failed. So something obviously very unique about the culture here and in the North. So I'm daily meeting new people. I just had meetings today with people from the kibbutz and meeting all over hoping that they get to learn about us before they hear about it on the news. So activism and getting involved in the communities is crucial for our students. We're going to be doing all kinds of events for the region. We're going to be looking for opportunities to help. For example, if a farmer has leftover tomatoes, what we could do with the tomatoes. The students can get involved, be active participants in the program, which I'll tell you about shortly. And the last piece is entrepreneurship. Today in entrepreneurship, I mean, obviously COVID only pushed us forward in the sense that you have to be flexible, you have to be nimble, you have to be able to change. Obviously, for those that in the U.S. and as well as obviously here in Israel, the mom and pop shops, the ones that knew how to create their dishes, and they were a great restaurant, but didn't know how to change, are out of business today, and it's really really unfortunate. Obviously, the ones that did have that mindset and were able to change were able to obviously create new ideas, create box programs or online programming. But you have to be creative. You have to have that mindset in today's world, in the entrepreneurial world, and anything you do, even if it doesn't matter if you want to be a cook, if you want to be a chef. At the end of the day, entrepreneurship, team building, working with different people is crucial, and understanding that is something that needs to happen. So these are three areas that we're focused in, where I could easily say with close, not 100%, because you never want to say 100%, but close to that there's no other institutes in the world that focus on these three things, and have it be a focal point for all their students. So when they go through the program, they're looking at these areas. So the next piece is really our culinary program, which I want to tell you about. Not all of this is public. Some of it has been released, but we are creating a 12-month culinary intensive. That's our flagship program, which is basically the foundation of everything we do. 12 months, basically a beginner to intermediate program. And our program is really focused on, the structure of discover, engage, create, discovering what you really want to do. And a lot of times Culinary Institutes are very, again, no pun intended, cookie cutter. You do it, you go through a program, and your end result is this. And a lot of times what happens is the student goes through the full program, and at the end, they start getting into the area that they thought they wanted to get into and realize that they don't enjoy it as much as they did. And they just spend a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money on this education, and usually leave. And the statistics is after 5 years, people from culinary institutes leave. And culinary institutes have really gotten into the process of like really making it a system where there's lack of caring about the student, lack of really focusing on the student. And I'll tell you why we're different and things we do as well. But so 12 months, really figuring out what you want to do. 6 months of focusing in that area. We call it engage. So it's a little more advanced. You're doing some more advanced projects and work in that area. And the last is create, where it's a 3-month final project where you're either doing an apprenticeship, you're working on a certain project, like you're creating a wine label and telling the story, whatever it may be. It's a 3-month like final project. And that is our full program. And the next piece is we're really focused on immersive learning. We don't want to learn about the vineyard from a book or a CD. You're going to learn about the vineyard from going to a vineyard. And we have that unique opportunity in the north of Israel. You have so many different types of businesses in such a small region. You're able to go learn hands-on. And like I said, with the entrepreneurs, we've been meeting with the food tech companies and the groups and the incubators and accelerators. All of them want our students involved. And so again, it's a firsthand experience of what's going on in innovation, what's going on in the culinary world before it really actually, hits the ground, and really a hands-on approach of learning in real time. We want our students to put on events. We want our students to be active participants. They're going to be working in all the areas that we're doing, which I'll tell you about again. But really co-creators. They're going to be the ones working as well with the community. They're going to be the ones helping to put down the events. They're going to be having their own social media channels where they're able to put things out as well. So very unique opportunity to be co-creators in all that they do. And that's why immersive learning is crucial. And it's also not only on the student side. For those who don't know, I'll tell you quickly, but I'll get into a little bit more in a moment. But there's three things that we're the three types of business units, I guess, that we have. First is, like I said, the Culinary Institute, which we're learning about now. The second is a restaurant. And then the third is a basically building for tourism. So chocolatier, cafe, bakery, wine and spirit tasting, brewery, like a lot of the fun stuff, boutique shop, a lot of the fun stuff. So again, the plan is to make this very experiential, immersive learning. So again, people, like for example, we'll have tourist groups, they'll come pick their produce and then come put together the dish with us, in the institute with an amazing chef, spending several days working on certain things like sourdough bread baking, like a 2-day, 3-day course. So really, again, hands-on immersive learning, being a part of the community, Shabbat planning, creating Shabbat programs, really hands-on experiential learning, and making these experiences memorable. The next piece is, like I was talking about this a little bit, but we're very, very student focused. The student is the heart of everything we do. I mean, the only reason why we came up with these lenses is because we went through all kinds of research. We did summits with people throughout the world, to really figure out what the students need to be successful. And it's all about the student, everything at the heart of what we do. Without a successful Culinary Institute, there will be no restaurant and there will be no tourism. So we have to do it right. We have to really put our efforts into ensuring that the students are successful. They are our marketing pieces. Obviously, they go out wherever they go. When they are successful, we are successful. So the point is, the student is everything. And these areas that we're really focused on are again, is not happening in any institutes. I can tell you that for sure. For example, student choice. After that 6-month program where they determine what they want to get into, we allow the student to determine the focus and the area that they want to get into. So if they really love wine, they can do their focus in wine. If they really love, labeling, they can get into labeling. But allowing them, obviously, we have a structure in our program, but there's these pieces, these engage and create pieces all throughout our program that will allow the student to pick what they focus on. So something that is not normal. It's not like a curriculum where you just have a focus where you have to do 4 electives. This allows the student the choice to determine what they want to get into. Also, we're very outcome based, not time based. So again, when you go to university, I went to university, I went to grad school, I know how it works. You have 3 credits in this, and that translates into X hours. So do you really need, let's say we're doing knife skills, and do you really need to make it a 10-hour requirement of knife skills, or 10 credits, or whatever you want to call it? The point is, no, because if you could do it in 2 hours, if you can create the outcomes, you could do the cuts in 2 hours of practice, then there's no need to go through that extra 8 hours. But if you're a beginner and you're not so great with knife skills, you might need 15 hours. The point is, we give that flexibility in the curriculum, allowing the students to spend the time that they need to get to the outcomes that they need to be successful. Again, outcome-based as opposed to time-based. Obviously, we have a structure where it's a 12-month culinary, immersive program, but we're allowing the flexibility for the students to determine how much time they need based on what are the results that they need to come with. So another unique aspect is one point of contact. For those that have gone through university, you have your person who deals with the financial, you have your person that deals with your schedule, you have your person that deals with your counseling, you have a person that deals with your scholarship, you have a person that deals with transportation. We're not doing any of that. We're gonna have one person, one focal person who helps them, the student, get acclimated to any questions they have. They might have to go to the finance group, that person who's helping, but not the student. So very concierge, student focused, student based. Again, something very unique in what we're doing. Also, we want to be a part of their career planning from the start. So at the 6-month point is when we'll actually sit down with them, talk about their strengths, what they're working on, what they need to be doing to get to that career objective, and work on that career objective with them all throughout the program. Very hands-on. So at the end as well, our student advisors will be helping them find their position, and also with obviously the people that are connected. Our director, who's also super connected in the U.S. And then we have, Michael Samanolov, who's helping out, who's like a star chef. And so we're really focused on the student and their placement, and not only place them, because another thing we found out is, culinary institutes, they have all these jobs set up and they place their other students in all these jobs. But the point is, they're not really thinking about the job for the person. They have these openings and they place them there, but they're not thinking about the right place, the right position. And so that's something we really want to make sure that we do. We're setting the student up for success. We're not also giving them these false expectations that they're going to leave and be master chefs right away. That's a lot of times the false marketing that's happening in culinary institutes, and there's like all these legal cases that are being brought because they're promised they're going to be chefs in the best places and all this stuff. And so we're not here to do that, but we will promise that we're going to do our best to put them in the situation to succeed, putting them in the right position to go into the right career path, and working with them from day one. And then also just, creating a relationship. It's not over when they leave. A lot of times school ends and that's the end of your schooling and that's the end of your relationship. That's not what we want to do. We want students to come back. We want students to be able to continually learn, because this flagship program is really going to be the basis for all of our advanced programs as well. So most likely be having, and this hasn't been created yet, but these are what we're thinking about. A lot of the advanced programs will be 3-month intensives in a specific area. Again, utilizing our Discover, Engage, Create process and formula that we're using. Again, it's all about creating relationships and really allowing the student to go and come back, do different programs with us, be liaisons for us, and really, create a family. And that's something unique. Obviously, JNF has already done that with the JNF family in the USA, which all those have know and have seen them. I mean, the way they work, it's a big family, and that's what we want to obviously emulate here in Israel. And I talked about this already as well, but being co-creators, there's not many institutes that are going to let their students create media and create content on social media. Something, again, very unique to what we're doing. They're not, our students literally going to be working hands-on with the producers, the makers, the bakers, all the individuals in the areas of expertise. They're going to be able to work with it. They're going to be getting budgets. They're going to be working in different areas of our facility, which I'll tell you about shortly, even though I kind of already spoiled it looking at my list. But hands-on, they're going to be putting on workshops. They're going to be working, in the restaurant. They're going to be putting together budgets and the operation side of what needs to be ordered for the next week for our tourism classes. They're going to be hands-on and really involved. Again, something that I know is not being done in many areas. So, the businesses, I think I told you a little bit about it, but basically our main building will have a full restaurant with the capabilities to handle JNF tours, so big events. There'll be all the culinary classes. So we have one main building, which you'll see some of the renderings, but our first main building is where the restaurants house all the culinary classrooms for the Institute and for tourism, as well as a demonstration kitchen. So we bring in chefs from Israel or around the world. They'll be able to put on these big events. Everything's going to be, streamed, and you'll have all the cameras over watching what they're doing, from all these different angles. So really setting up like a media facility. That's the first building. And then the second building, like I said, really focused on the tourism, the fun aspects as well of, the chocolatier, the bakery, the cafe, beer brewing, wine and spirit tasting, a boutique shop. And then also on the outside, we're gonna have an organic farm, local. We'll have a smaller orchard, an herb garden, a small amphitheater, and a greenhouse. So really cool things that are coming together under the whole business umbrella. And like I said, there'll be tourism classes, whether it's for Israelis, for people coming from out of the U.S., really focusing again on bringing people and keeping people in the north longer. So it's like maybe a full week on Mediterranean cuisine. Really giving again people the experiences, the Shabbat experience. Really cool programming with utilizing all of your senses. So something obviously very unique to the north of Israel, and something that we believe obviously is going to be extremely successful. And look, this is one of the biggest missions for JNF is building the north, and so many unique things that have already happened. For example, homes are being purchased right now in the north because this is coming in. We already have heard from someone in Gonen who purchased the house because they know the Culinary Institute is going to be a part of the kibbutz in the region. So it's pretty cool to see these things already happening. We've had great discussions with some of these, amazing chefs that would love to make the north their home and are willing to do that if they have a position. And that's one of obviously the hardest things in the region, and something that we're really committed to is growing the north and bringing people to the north. And obviously with the people that come to the north, you have your children that come to the north, and creating programs for children, children in the kitchen. We want to create really cool programming for the family. Obviously, it's so important to bring the family together and start teaching them about nutrition and creating food, because nutrition is a huge part of what we're doing as well. In utilizing the local foods and how to utilize local foods, because here in Israel, we don't have the luxury of having everything at our hands in America, at our beck and call, no matter if it's in season or not in season. It's in America. Here, if it's not in season, you're not finding it. Very simple. Once avocados are out of season, it's done. Obviously, it's the worst thing for me because I love avocados. But here in Israel, once the season's over, it's done. Once watermelon season's over, it's done. So it's very different. So allowing them to utilize what's happening in the region, utilize what's happening based on where they're at and positioned. So allowing this, our younger generations to really learn to cook with what we have, and obviously creating amazing dishes for the future. And the last is, with our program and all that we're doing, this just creates instant value. Our students are going to be, ready to conquer the world wherever they go. And that's the goal. I mean, and the goal is for these people to leave and become influencers in the community, to become really, a foundational component for wherever they go, having a major impact on the community. In Israel here, obviously, that's our goal, to be a major part of everything that happens in the north. And so creating value for the student, creating value for the region is obviously what's most important, and obviously a huge mission of ours. So I'll give you a quick update on where we're at. We're looking still at a fall 2022 opening, so we're very close to that. We're still waiting on one permit, but demolition is going to begin very soon, which is very exciting. Those that are coming to the convention in October here in Israel, if you haven't placed your or booked your flight, you better hurry up. But it's you'll be able to start to see the demolition and the work already starting in October, but all things are moving forward. We have our website launch for those that don't know, GalileeCulinary.com or GCI-by-JNF.com. We can share all that with you in the comments or maybe after in an email. But we have launched our website, social media. We have a newsletter. Again, the newsletter is a great way to find out what's going on kind of before everyone else does. We send it once a month. And I just, we have an article. I read an article about what's kind of happening. We have, we feature a business, we feature an individual, we do an interview with them, and then we give great recipes. So all things that people love. So we have that and send that every 18th of the month. We have some great branding created. We have some gear and stuff that is in the works. We have some swag as well already created. Again, so if you come to the convention, you'll get some of that. We have some great partners that we're working with, some great PR. Here are some renderings. These are old. The new ones are coming. But just so you get an idea, the building on the right in this picture is the existing structure, which will be the building that houses the restaurant. And you see all those windows, that's where the restaurant will be. So you get a 180 view of the Hula Valley and the sunset, and it's absolutely stunning. And that's also where the classes will be, the demonstration kitchen. And the building on the left will be a completely brand new building where we'll have all the fun things for tourism and also events. And you can see, you get great views. It's all about as many windows as we can do with still being able to keep the facility cool, not too hot. So we're thinking about everything, obviously, when it comes to the experience. And that this is just a view of that. Here's another view. The left building, again, is the existing building with the restaurant. The right building is the tourism facility. Here's just some renderings of the restaurant, and you see kind of the view. We have a little open kitchen concept, allowing, obviously, the patrons to see what is happening in the kitchen. This is an example of our demonstration kitchen where, the chef can be doing stuff and you see all the different angles on the videos up top. Here's an example of one of our main classrooms. So you see a full station for the students that allows easily 15 to 20 students to be working in the classroom. We also have some rooms on site for the students. That's in also connection with also what's happening in the region. Like I said, with the hotel chain coming in. So we have the boutique hotel chain, which they have 93 units. So there'll be plenty of space for visitors, people to stay long term. Here's just a little rendering of the room. And that's it. This was the program, but like I said, the best part is questions. I don't know if we got questions yet. I saw a couple of flashing lights, and I'm assuming that's what that means, considering I should be a Zoom pro since we've all been on it for the last however long, and I've had Zoom meetings almost every day now. So happy to take any questions and get into the fun stuff.
Thank you so much, Nathan. We actually already have some questions for you. So I see that Carol asked to be called on first.
Okay. Hello. Thank you so very much. And I apologize that my camera is not working.
No worries.
But that's all right. The black box looks a little better than I do right now. So I wanted to tell you that I thought that your prospectus is absolutely engaging and wonderful. And I'm reminded years ago there used to be Hadassah Culinary Institute in Jerusalem, and they over the years have changed their focus so that they no longer supported that, and they really just concentrate on the hospital. Do you have um, do you have use of some of their teaching techniques in the past, or did you pretty much start from scratch in coming up with your ideas for the involvement of the students and the general prospectus? Because it's quite visionary what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, look, we started from scratch, but we also are not trying to reinvent the wheel. So we did partner with some companies like Ruby, which is an online cooking school. They have, I think, about 700,000 students, and all their professionals from Ruby, have great backgrounds in culinary. So we've been working with them, and then we had, like I said, we had these summits where we've been, we've been asking everyone and anyone we can talk to in these different fields. We've been asking past students, we're asking current students, so we while we started from scratch, we're obviously going to utilize the best of all that's already there, and these techniques in the different areas. So that's kind of how we created this, is just, again, talking to people, people that are top in the industry, and something very unique. Obviously, COVID was obviously an atrocity and an awful thing that happened. But we were able to benefit from the fact that people were available. So we had so many conversations with chefs that would have never ever had the time. They were working. You know how chefs work. For those that don't, it's crazy how much time they spend. And so we had top chefs really you're able to talk to at all times, and it was just so unique that all the people that we were able to get a hold of and have these Zoom conferences with was amazing. So we started from scratch, but again, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're utilizing the best of both worlds. We're also going to be doing online stuff, which I didn't even talk about. We'll be creating content online all the time. So we'll probably be doing some sort of subscription where you can jump in classes. You can, take some of our classes online. Obviously, today you have to be online or to be relevant. It's very simple. So also something we'll be doing. So I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
Nathan, I also had another question for you. I'm
Sure.
wondering if there is anything special about your center that brings in something about Judaism or makes it special Jewish related.
Yeah, I mean, so it's hard because in the sense that we want to be an international institute and we're going to be open to everyone. There's no question about that. So the program is going to be focused on many different areas, and one of the big areas will be in Shabbat. That's a big one. So the Shabbat programming will have definitely, obviously, a major Jewish aspect. We'll be talking probably about the species or the seven species and the food species here in Israel. Talking about the uniqueness of the culture and the background. Um, you know, it's also kosher, which is also very unique, which is not, again, a selling point because people don't usually think of kosher as the best food, but we are going to be changing that bad stereotype. But there will be definitely different programming. We're definitely wanting to work with Alexander Muss, and we've already spoken with them and doing programs with them. So while it's not that we're not going to be doing it, it's just right now the focus has really been on this flagship program, which is a culinary program. So a lot of the rest of the programs are going to be created and thought through. So it'll obviously be a part of it. I just don't know how much and what it will be. So that's a good question.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
May I ask another?
Please, I was just going to open for more questions.
So years ago, there was a restaurant. I think it was like Culinary. It was a Roman style eatery. It was owned in part by an Israeli Jew and an Israeli Arab. And I remember taking my very religious relatives there. And the first thing he did was walk into the kitchen to look for their kosher certificate because he couldn't believe that an Arab could run a black kosher establishment. And you started at the beginning by talking about diversity, and Sonny's question really pulled that out a little bit more. But will you be marketing? And I realize this is not your first thing that you're going to do, but will you be marketing to Arab Israelis and Arab tourists the same way you market to Jewish tourists, that for their information so that they know that this is a safe place? Because I could see where in terms of international and even interpersonal relations within Israel, that you really could play a very significant role if people think that this is a safe place for all people.
Yeah, I mean, most definitely, it's a great question, and that's our goal. I mean, that's why one of our top goals is bringing people together, around the table through food. So it is very important that we do it in the right way. So writing obviously in the local languages, doing different marketing to the different groups. For example, I met with a Druze group last week. Had great conversations with them, and the uniqueness is kosher is also halal. So that also works out in their benefit and benefit for all of us. And the reason why also we're kosher is because we're inclusive. We're inclusive of everyone, including observant Jews. And so that's something it'd be pretty crazy to create an international institute where everyone's welcome except for a group of locals, which doesn't make any sense. So it's pretty cool what we're doing. And yeah, the goal is to make it safe. The goal is to definitely do marketing in the different areas as well. And we already, for example, in our newsletter, not last one, but the one before that, we did a little interview with a Lebanese cook. She is from her family came here. I forgot when it was, but when they opened the border, they're proud, Israeli Arabs. She was, I think, she was a finalist in the same thing as like MasterChef here in Israel. And wants to get involved, and she's just great, And so having great people like that, and people from the different communities, have them here doing demonstrations in the kitchen and be able to stream it and show it. Hopefully, will allow people to see that this is a safe place to come for everyone, and that is really a major goal of ours, especially today with all that's going on in the world. I don't want to be so kumbaya to everyone, but we do want people to come together and and be a part of one community. And the unique aspect is the north of Israel. Again, these are based on statistics, and statistics can be out of proportion. I saw it somewhere, so don't put it in stone. But that 55% of the north is Jewish, meaning 45% is not Jewish, which is a huge number in Israel. So that just tells you. I know there's lots of Druze communities, Bedouins, different Arab groups.
And in the Galilee, I would assume a lot of Christian communities as well.
Exactly, and Christian, correct. So it is a really amazing, diverse group of ethnicities, and so it's a big goal of ours and something we definitely want to do. So,
thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other questions for Nathan?
Well, I'm sorry if nobody else is going to speak up. Janet, it's your turn.
Okay.
I got one more when you're done.
Thanks. Nathan, very interesting information, but I'm confused about this timeline. Do you already have a classroom and students now, or all of this is projected for the next couple of years?
Yeah, no, it starts in fall 2022.
Okay.
Yeah.
My second question or comment,
Sure.
I think it's really commendable making this a kosher facility.
Thank you. I believe so. I'm a little biased.
It's appropriate. I mean, it really is. But so my question is, pre-pandemic, for many, many years, I've had a part-time job being a mashgiach at a local synagogue, which is conservative with both a meat and dairy kitchen. And we're
Sure.
very strict about the caterers and what they do and their access and all of that. So how exactly does a culinary institute trying to teach people how to cook, where is your focus? Are you going to be parv only? Are you having a separate meat and dairy kitchen? And how then do you serve in the restaurant? And all of those complicated kosher related questions.
So that's a great question. And so we will have separate kitchens. We're having separate dairy and obviously meat and parv classrooms. The restaurant will be considered meat, so there'll be no dairy served into it.
So no blintzes for brunch in the restaurant.
No, but the tourism side, probably the bakery will be dairy.
Okay.
So dairy and parv. So that is kind of how we've planned it. And obviously it's going to be a little different. The kashrut standards for the institute and the students is going to be different than the restaurant and the tourism side. There's no reason for it to be at a certain standard for the students because it's a whole different game. They're going to be eating their own foods. But the point is that there'll be separate kitchens, there'll be different areas, and we picked one for the restaurant, which is more prevalent, and it's going to be meat and parve, and obviously a lot of vegetarian dishes because obviously vegetarian is also a big thing.
Right.
And then the tourism side will be mostly there'll be dairy and obviously parve and all that. So that's a good question.
With on-site mishkias all the time?
So I mean we're figuring that out. I mean that's to be determined. We still have to talk to the groups, but usually here in Israel it's not the same as America where the mishkias can come in at any time. They have to come out in a certain amount, but they don't have to be here full time.
Okay.
And sometimes there's an employee that can do certain things. So we're going to be obviously doing the best way possible without obviously going overboard and having to get like everything but dots and crazy. Yeah, we're not going that way. The point is that if you're observant, you'll be able to eat there. And if you have a question about the kashrut, you can ask and we can answer all the questions. So that's how we do.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Carol, back to you.
All right, I'm sorry. I just had one more, and this will be it.
No problem.
And it actually piggybacks on Janet's question on timeline, because I can really see where gastronomic tourism really could be a very big way that you can augment your budget. Because I could see a lot of people, especially in the United States, because there's so many people are foodies, coming to spend a week at the hotel so that they can take classes.
Yep.
I mean, the last time my husband and I were in Israel, we ducked out for a day and we took a class in Jerusalem in the old city that was done at a bakery. So, so I can see where this is really going to be a very big tourist draw. How soon after you open up the school, what is your timeline for being able to incorporate a tourist agenda into your programming?
So great question. The tourist piece will happen right in the beginning because we're starting with a very small group of students. We're starting with 15 individuals. The facility can hold 200 full-time students based on utilizing different rooms. So we have a lot of rooms and we want to utilize them. So we're going to be starting the tourism side of it right away, except that second building might not be finished. The main pieces will be done, so there won't be heavy construction. But we're going to probably be finishing because it's a brand new building. It takes a little longer here in Israel. So that building might take a few more months. We're trying to figure out the timing with that. But we want to get started right away. We don't want to waste any time because time is it's ticking and we want people to get in and enjoy and as quick as possible. We're not going to be, for example, opening the restaurant at full capacity right away. Obviously that's not a very smart idea. Probably a few nights a week and some events and starting to get the flow down, but we're all about starting slowly, perfecting the processes and then scaling, and that's really the key. So we'll be starting with some groups and then really making it a well-oiled machine, God willing.
And the groups come through your Culinary Institute, or are they JNF tourist groups that happen to then come to your facility? How is that?
Well, I have a feeling JNF tourist groups will be coming to us. Just a little feeling, a hunch. But
Okay.
yeah, we're going to be doing our own thing as well. I mean, we're going to be, working with different tourist groups throughout Israel, working with the different agencies and boutique groups, and we're also thinking about partnering with certain groups as well that already have the connection. So it will be a mix. Obviously, JNF will be at our facilities a lot, but we want it to be a full house all the time, and that's the plan. So we have to work. We want Israelis to come and want to come. So we'll obviously have classes in their local languages. And these are things, a lot of these companies do like these little trips with their teams, and so we want our place to be a facility for that.
Thank you so
right
much.
away is the plan as soon as we can.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nathan. And thank you, JNF, for all your support again. I would like to invite everybody for another Food for Thought program next Thursday at the same time and the same link. We'll have Join Israel with us next week, a nonprofit that joins together to rescue Israelis in crisis. I hope to see you all there. Thank you again, Nathan.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Shabbat
Thank
shalom.
you,
See ya.
Nathan.
Bye-bye.
Sam, sign me up.